This is a special video, one in which I would rather not have to make. I've said in previous videos that my last one literally was the last one for the rest of the year, and I was standing by that. Like I say, this is just a very one-off. There won't be any more content from me with substance till next year because I'm working on my book projects and I have other things of interest that's taken me away from that. I've put a lot of time and effort into videos. So this isn't a case of this is opening a can of worms and we're going to go down a lot of video content. It's not the case at all. But something truly tragic happened a couple of days ago and I wasn't going to discuss it. I was going to keep it private. There was no need to share it with the world. It's not about me, it's about them. And it's been ruminating around my mind thinking, I'm trying to come to terms with what happened. And then I start thinking about, if you can save just one person, then it's important to talk on something. And that's how I do everything I do, you know. I talk about traumatic situations. I talk about all things in life. Some things deeply personal and some things I'd rather not talk about. But if it can help one person, then I think it's worth it, isn't it? To talk. So yeah, there was a conflict in my mind whether to talk at all, how much to share. And yeah, whether to share part of life. It's going to be hard about making it personal, to be totally honest, in terms of life. I don't want to go deviating too far. That's kind of going to be part of the problem. So 2 days ago, I got the news that one of my stepbrothers had passed away. Their own doing, and I'm not going to go deeper into than that because it comes as a shock to everybody. Now, I hadn't seen them for about 8 years, so the shock comes and the loss of life is absolutely unnecessary. And you can't help but look at things and think about if things have been different in this sense or things have been different in that sense, but in each other's lives more. But, that takes two people and I'm not going to go deep into the connection there and what that means. But of course, the longer you're away from someone and you perceive life going forward, it's unlikely he was going to. The reality is, in that connection, it was unlikely we would see each other again anyway in life, just because our life was going in different directions. Unfortunately, that's just the way it was going. So in that sense, it doesn't have as much of an impact on my life because there wasn't much of an impact on my life before. But it doesn't mean you don't care. It doesn't mean it wasn't avoidable. And that's the part that really I'm struggling with a bit, is trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together because I only have specific knowledge of their life, so it's hard to piece the puzzle together because I'm not in it, so I don't know it. But you can't justify taking matters into your own hands because of a period of your life. I think some people are too proud. I think potentially too proud for their own good. And there's this keeping up appearances. So it's about dropping the ego, dropping your guard. I think allow yourself to have this is what it comes down to. It's really important. This is what I'm saying. This isn't about them per se. It's about showing other people. It's okay to have multiple lives in a lifetime. It's okay to stop and start again. It's okay for people to gossip about you. It's okay for people to have opinions about your choices, your lifestyles, and what you're doing. It's okay because it's noise. It genuinely doesn't matter what anyone thinks of you. It doesn't matter if you're at a low point because literally you'll come out of that. Everything's temporary. So we never want to make permanent solutions to a temporary situation because that's just tragic. And like I say, I hadn't spoke to them, but it wasn't through, on my side, it wasn't through anything negative. It's I don't want to go personal into my into life. But growing up, my stepbrothers always had a problem with my mum. My mum always helped and was always there, but they always took exception, almost like they wanted their dad to themselves. That's how it felt. Now, they'll see it in different avenues because they have a different agenda. So when my stepdad, their dad passed away in 2017, it hit all of us. It changed all of our lives forever. We all lost the head of the household. And it sent everybody in different directions. And I think, personally, my stepbrothers made a pact that when he went, that they would all go their own way and they're never going to keep in contact. And that's literally what they've done since. It's been nearly 8 years. And I think that's what happened. And I just think that in itself is truly tragic because they were blinded by their egos and everything. And it's just so unnecessary. So they found themselves even more alone when maybe they can't handle being alone, and it's just avoidable. So I'm just trying to show people on that side of things. It's like really, it's really important that you reflect on life in general, and don't let your mind get in the way because it can play tricks on you. Something that's heavy today doesn't mean it's heavy tomorrow. Just because something's compounded on itself, it doesn't mean there's not something that can change. I always think that, if you make decisions and there's a chance that something can improve in the future, you're missing out on that evolution, that change. Dissecting all this is going to be a bit too much for me in this space of time because I can't get my head around it, to be honest. And I can get my head around a lot of things, but even my mind's like hitting walls and it's like, this is doing my head in. Because he was a strong person. And when you know strong people, you just think, yeah, the weight of life might get to them at times and there might be issues, but they'll always find a way. So it just makes it like, what is happening to make it that hard, that complicated, that difficult? And, there's so many angles, of course, that you could dissect. Like, I think probably losing their father, their natural father, was probably the catalyst, really. Because I was looking recently, you think Father's Day wasn't long ago, and it would have been his birthday recently. Maybe it was too much, but I haven't spoke to him for like 8 years, so I wouldn't know the depth of their despair with that, if that is a catalyst or not. But again, it's like, if we go deeper into that side of things, again, this isn't to attack their decision or do anything in that sense, make it personal. It's more about showing people. To get through life, you have to understand life. And I think there's a lot of people who go through life blasé, but they don't understand the depths of it. So they can't cope when tragedy happens or when there's issues in their life. You have to make peace with the fact that life flows in and it flows out. Nothing ever stays the same. You will lose people, you will gain people, you have experiences. And again, there's a lot of loss. There's a lot of loss, there's a lot of tragedy, there's a lot of love. It's like it goes in waves, it goes in cycles. You just got to be prepared to let go and let it flow. When you try clinging so hard to something and you try going in places of life where you're not supposed to and things are supposed to come to an end and you can't detach from it, you will have a hard time existing through it, so like I can come across cold, and it's not that I'm cold, it's just that I understand life and I go with the flow. I allow chapters to end and new ones to begin. I recognize we have so many experiences and it's not for us to determine when that end is. It's not for us to determine that, in my opinion. It's like you have to let it flow. You have to go through all the range of emotions. And you have to let things come to a close, And like I say, if you attach so heavily to an individual or person or a situation, you can have a real hard time continuing after that situation. Whereas, like I say, I see things as chapters, just chapters. It's like I have a beautiful chapter here, I have a negative chapter there, I have a chapter like where you think this person's going to be my life my whole way through, and loss will affect. But then you have to have goals in mind. I always say that. But you have to have fulfillment in life. You have to have something to wake up for, something to inspire us, something to push us forward, something to achieve. And that's why you see people who are successful, even wealthy. Sometimes they lose their minds. They turn to drugs, anything to stimulate them, because they're not naturally stimulated in their own life. So yeah, I can make assumptions and I can make judgments, but it doesn't mean I'm always going to be right. But I think some people on the outside can be perceived as strong-willed, strong-minded. But I think people who require stimulants, I think it does show a flaw, a vulnerability within them. Because if you're very strong-willed, you wouldn't need stimulants and you would decline. So there's that side of life as well, But yeah, it's not an easy topic to talk about. I just want people to sort of believe in themselves and not make don't make so final decisions. I also want to share my spiritual side of this because I think it's really important. And I'm not to say it's correct, it's accurate, but it's my perceptions, what I've understood. And I think it's really important to consider it, really. So I use my tarot cards. I can do divination. I can meditate and do things. Read my books. I've got Losing Mind to Find Your Soul is my spiritual book. I'm currently working on another spiritual book, which is likely to be the next one. Then I've got a couple of other books. But yeah, the spiritual one's going to be the one of the ones that comes out in the foreseeable future this year. So that delves into things. And that challenges me to look at this situation from a soul spirit level. And to be honest, when I was using my cards, my tarot cards, it threw me through a loop. And I had to try and understand the process. Because naturally, you think things flow effortlessly. It would all unravel, and it didn't make sense. It didn't make sense. I asked why they did it. I'm not going to go too deep into it, but the cards were more, it seemed strong. And I thought, I don't get it. I don't get it. But I think there was fears. I think there was fears in the disillusionment, personally, hindering their strength in whatever capacity that is. That's kind of what was coming through. So I was like, I don't really know the depths of that because I'm not in their life. So that's sad. Then I asked, did my stepdad meet him on the other side? Because naturally he'll be the first one to be there. And it was no, because it was the moon card. No. I was like, what? How could he not meet him on the other side? It doesn't make sense. I've always had my own opinion on people that take their own life. I've never understood it totally, but I have an opinion on it. And this was kind of like validating those opinions. You get lost. You know, when you go naturally, it's like your soul, your spirit, it already knows that the time was up. You know, it knew. So it knows to follow the light. It knows to go transcend back into spirit source. Return where we come from, really. So we're just a piece of meat. We're just a vessel. The soul is attached to the vessel, but the soul, you know, you can get so attached to this human experience, you don't know where to leave. And sometimes the portal, if you take too long, the portal doesn't open. So you could be stuck for a while, you know? So if you go naturally, of course, you naturally just follow the light and you transcend back into source and have your like end of life review. You'd see all the things you've done beautifully, all the things you've done maybe wrong, the impact you've had for good and bad, and then you'd like it's almost like a detox, get used to being back in source. You know, there'd be a period of time to get used to that. If you take your own life, there's a level of attachment to your current realm, so you don't leave, and it's confusing because that really tests your understanding of it all. You know. So I asked if he was greeted, and it was like no. So I said, "Has he crossed over yet?" And it was like no. And I was like, "Well, that's what the hell does that mean? You haven't crossed over yet. Where are they?" So it's almost like an in between. Then I asked whether they regretted it, and I'm not going to go into the depths of that because that's sad. When that question even comes up, it shouldn't be really asking because effectively your soul, your spirit can watch on confused as to whether it's passed on or whether it's live still, you know? So it's like you've given up on the human element that maybe was weighing you down, but in itself is a beautiful experience that you forgo, you know? There is a darker side to it that I just want to hint at. I'm not going to go into it because, again, I'm still learning myself. Because I know in spirit source, there is a battle between light and dark. There are negative entities, even demonic entities, that want to attack our spirit, really, our soul. So I don't know the depths of that, but I do find that quite worrying because we're vulnerable in spirit. You know, our vessel is our vessel, but in spirit, you can be quite vulnerable. So you have to protect yourself. I don't know what it's like if you just only have your spirit to protect you, you know, so you can't switch off in that sense if you don't understand any of it. So I don't know if there's a vulnerability there, if entities are around and what happens there. That's quite scary in itself if you can't reach out to source and have the protection of the angelic realm. You know, I know some people won't understand any of that. Some will. Again, I'm only touching on it. I'm learning some things for myself too. But I just understood that he's not moved on. He's still on this plane of existence, which is confusing, to say the least. So there's going to be a wake. It's in another country. That's where they lived. It's not something I can attend, but I've done I've written something for it. But because they haven't crossed over, I just don't understand how aware they would be of the situation anyway. Like if you was in Source, I never believed in that. Like I thought, once you cross over, you cross over. I didn't know they watched these ceremonies. And I've heard from very gifted multiples, this isn't just one, multiple sources who corroborate the same thing, that on the other side, you do what your spirit does watch the celebration. They watch people say goodbye. And I didn't think that happened before. So I missed a funeral in the past. And I didn't mind because I had my own experience. I meditated and I just asked how I hope they're at peace. And I felt peaceful immediately. It was weird. And then I was in the vision, I was like lifting from my body. And that's when I just said, oh, that's enough. But that was for me getting the confirmation. So I didn't need to do something in front of people. I don't think you always need this public mourning. I think it's more for the people than those that have crossed over. But to know they get to watch is something. But if your soul hasn't crossed over, they're not going to have that ability to transcend time and space. So they can't be everywhere. They're limited, I would assume, to a space. So are they aware of the situation or not? Are they still confused about their passing, So you could do your goodbyes and they may not even be aware of it. So I find that quite confusing in itself. But then I start thinking, okay, maybe they're not aware in this space. But maybe when they finally do cross over, they'll get to see the people that cared after, I just want people to understand the tragicness of it all, So if you can save one life, it's worth talking about. That's what it is. I didn't want to talk about it at all. I was going to just keep this as a private part of my life that doesn't really get spoken about. But I spoke about it so much in life. I don't hide much or anything really. I just share. But this isn't about me, it's about them. But it's also understanding the spiritual side as well with our spirit, our soul. And even just trying to piece the things together, because that's literally what I'm doing. I know so much, but I don't know everything. And I'm still exploring. And there's always going to be something to unravel and a new thing to experience. I understand the echelon on the other side where you've got Council of Light, you've got ascended masters such as Jesus and Buddha. Then you've also got others. You've got angels, you've got archangels, you've got guardian angels, you've got spirit guides, you've got ancestors. People pay too much importance on their role in our life once they go, but they have their own experience, even in spirit, to evolve. So they're not always available. So you might do like a psychic reading or a mediumship session, and they don't come through because they have their own evolution to go through. So they're not always available. You just got to understand that side of things. So people might not believe in it, but sure, they'll have their experience once they've gone. And then you'll have no choice because you're in it. So some of us understand in this life the other side to an extent. And there's still more to unravel, of course. But I think it's incredibly, tragic when we take a path that wasn't really set for us. Like I don't genuinely believe that anyone taking their own life is something that was set for us because we have free will. I don't think I can't say quantify and say absolutely, but I don't personally believe that's something that spirit would will on us. I mean, it's all about self-love, love, healing, evolution. And I don't see evolution within our own personal suffering in that sense. I don't want to go down the darker path, but I think it'd be more to do with the dark art. A bit like if he was doing Harry Potter, the more like dark arts, that's more, I'm not going to say the terms, but that would be more encouraged from the darker side than I think personally from the light, because if it was our time, the spirit could pick any other way. I don't think they need us to take action in our lives to make something happen. So I don't think that was the will of spirit at all. I just think the weight of this existence is heavy for everybody, and I think it's just heavier for some. That's what it is. It's like life's heavy, it's dense. It's often perceived that life on Earth is hell, and I actually agree. It's horrible on so many aspects and levels. It's sometimes hard to see the light at times. But then you have to detach and just acknowledge this is your experience. If you don't like something, change it. You don't have to end it. You just pivot. You don't have to keep the same people in your life. You don't have to continue doing the same adhering to the same situations. You don't even have to stay in the same location. You can experience everything and anything, whatever you want. Everybody has the freedom to do that if they allow themselves the freedom. If you confine yourself to a status quo or a rule, an expectation, you will be confined to that circumstance. But again, that's imprisoning yourself. So you can either imprison yourself or you can be free. It's a choice we all have to make. And there's a consequence, of course. There's always consequences. Your freedom may cost you your finances. What's more important? Again, this is every aspect of life. But we are here to experience all aspects of life, the rainbow of emotions. And it's how you cope and process it, how you heal, how you evolve, how you influence others. So my perception of life, for instance, is that I'm a vessel for spirit. Do with me as you will. I would love to have certain experiences in this life, but if it's not for me, then it's not for me. You know, I'd love to experience being married. I'd love to experience just being absolutely happy in a relationship and travel the world and have beautiful experiences and be so happy. But I understand I have another journey that is really important, and it's to literally document and journal my experiences and try to help evolve and help other people evolve, you know? And I take that incredibly serious. And I know spirit is using me as a tool for that. So if I don't get to have that sort of fairy tale life, and I have to, and my journey is literally here to document and do what I'm here to do, and I'm a tool for spirit, then I'll just be the tool for spirit. It's not for me to determine when that time ends. It's for them. So that's how I perceive life. That's how I perceive my life, you know? So I take it very serious, and it goes beyond other people's judgment of me and what their expectations are, because I'm just a tool. I'm here to do what they need me to do. I'm God's will, if you like. And if they give me some blessings along the way and I get to truly enjoy life, that'd be nice. That'd be appreciated for sure. But I can take on a lot, and I can understand the various aspects of life. Like I could choose not to do that. I could choose to just go on my own little rogue way and try to artificially create some semblance of fulfillment and justify living a different existence. But if it's not natural, it's not, you know, it doesn't just flow, then you're fighting too hard to be different. I think it's just best to be yourself, you know. And again, it's just don't hold so tight to things and allow yourself room to breathe. Allow situations to come and go. It's like if someone's not for us, then that means someone else is likely to come into our life, or a situation will happen, and you hold so tight to a circumstance, it'll literally handicap you. It doesn't serve a purpose at all. Um, I'm not sure what else I was going to say, to be honest, because I didn't want to do the video. I didn't even intend to be sat here doing this. I have questions myself that still need answering. I still don't 100% understand. And I'm sure I'll get clarifications one way or another throughout the process. In my own space, I've asked my angels to watch over his spirit, you know, make sure that he's safe. And when the time's right and he's ready to leave this existence and return back to source, I have a portal ready for him. You know, I get goosebumps when I say it. So he will continually be in my thoughts until I know he's at peace. And I'll make sure he's watched over and do the best I can to make sure that he does return to where he's supposed to be. Because I wouldn't want him lost to this world. And I think maybe in some way, that's the whole point of remembrance, you know. Don't let souls get lost. It was something of frustration. This isn't promoting myself in any way, and I don't do anything for that. But I did get really frustrated when I found out he had passed, because, okay, we hadn't spoke for a while, but I know I could help in any situation in life. There's something in any of my books where there's certain parts of life. Like I said, I talk about everything. So let's say someone's going through something personal, whether it's a relationship, whether it's someone's made an accusation against them, maybe it's someone's lost something, maybe it's a job, maybe anything and everything. Even if it's a spiritual breakthrough, you know. I've done it in my books, and I can't help but think if someone's going through something so bad that they just don't want to be here anymore, just read my books. You know, you can watch some of my videos, but if you read my books, there'll be a topic somewhere there, and it'll be easier to find and source. And if I can save lives, I think that's just a beautiful life, you know. And when people haven't even given themselves the chance, it's just tragic when you keep seeing people make such final decisions, you know. And this isn't me promoting and plugging here. That's not the purpose of it at all. It's just I don't do the work for nothing. It's literally been there for people. That's why I take it so serious, you know. That's the only reason I create. If it wasn't to help people, I wouldn't do it for my own personal gains. Like, I've done a book, I'm proud. If it's to write a book in my lifetime, I've done that. I don't need to write anymore, and I say that a lot. I don't need any more to fulfill me in terms of being proud. I'm proud. But there's still topics to talk about that can help people. When I read them back when I'm writing, I'm like, that's an awesome chapter. That's an awesome chapter. That's an awesome chapter. It's because I know it's going to help the right people. But it's about finding the audience, and I'm just getting a bit frustrated that every time someone goes, I'm like, that would have been the audience. I don't know what else I can do. So it's just sad because it's like avoidable. Like literally, I don't know what he was specifically going through, but I have no doubt if he had read my books, he would have gained some strength and direction, and it would have helped at least. But I just don't know what happened. Um, I'm just going through the photos I took of the tarot readings I did at the time. I don't know if I've got specific ones. So when I say I'm going to show one of them, did he cross over yet? And then I got the Seven of Cups, which would show options, choices, and then it was the Moon. So they're not ready yet. Moon is hidden. Moon can be fears, and it can also mean hidden. And Seven of Cups is options, your choices. So it's not. If you're saying if they crossed over, you would expect the Sun as an absolute yes, not the Moon, which is the complete opposite. And the fact you've got choices shows a level of confusion, undecided. Because clearly, like from what I'm seeing there, is you've got maybe the soul hasn't made it understood that it's ended, and then you've got people you care about, and you're not ready to leave them yet. So I think in that situation, when you get to that point, it's like, why make the decision in the first place? And again, this isn't about criticizing or attacking anybody. It's about trying to save others. It's like, yeah, the human experience hurts. There's a lot of emotions. It's raw. It's sometimes insufferable, But there's also some beautiful moments too. And I just think you've got to give yourself a chance to experience it all, It makes you stronger. You gain wisdom. It makes you seem cold later on. Like, I can be perceived as cold now because I understand life, and I understand like the lows that I go through, and I understand how like chapters end and people leave my life and people will go at certain stages, and I don't take it personal. Like I could, like when I look back at childhood, like we haven't seen each other for 8 years, but that doesn't change the experiences we had before those 8 years had passed. I remember all the bad moments, of course, but I also remember all the good moments too. It never takes that away from me, and it's all those memories and things that mold us into who we are. Anyway, it helps sculpt us. We take from every situation what we need to evolve. So I just see sort of the beauty in life in the people we meet along the way, and the circumstances and the things we learn. And for me, it's not personal. And it's like all our times will come at one point or another. I think everybody expects to get to 80, and I think that's just naive. You get to old age anyway, and it's like you're just fragile. You're frail. Your eyesight's going. Your cognizance is like deteriorated. So you're not as strong, resilient as you was in the past, or mobile. So some people give up their best years for the future life. So they save, they miss out on all the experiences, and they prepare for the future. And it's like the future isn't guaranteed, and it's not necessarily going to be a great place either. So make the most of now. Again, it's all perceptions and how you decide to live life. But it's being accountable of that, and be prepared to just start over if you need to. It's not that bad a deal. It's okay to start over. So anyway, that was that question. Then I asked, is my stepdad aware that he passed away? And it couldn't be more clearer. Literally the world, which is the end of a cycle, the completion of something. And then it was the wheel of fortune, which is just another one. Karmic wheel. Literally the wheel's changed. You actually got the wheel of the world. That's crazy. That's literally the end of the cycle. But then the sad thing is, it was the Page of Cups, which was his little boy. Literally, the Page of Cups is represented by a girl holding a single cup with a wave over them, like a wave crashing over behind. But there's just such innocence and purity within that. And that's what he saw. It's sad, isn't it? And on the back of the deck, it with the King of Wands. It says like him watching over, really. seeing his little boy. That made me a little bit upset a little bit seeing that, because this, the cards don't lie, Um, but yeah, it's not a topic I particularly wanted to go near, and I'm sure I could touch on it in various ways in so many other aspects, in terms of life, in terms of the spiritual side. But like I said, even though I'm learning and evolving within the spiritual concept, I'm sure I'll get more, even through tarot, downloads, all sorts of things. And it'll maybe answer a lot more of the questions that I have regarding this situation. But it does open so much thought process on the whole concept of life, our existence, the ending, and where our soul goes and how it leaves this planet. Now, I've had other mediums, very gifted mediums, who have told me experiences, people left behind and things. And if they're found, they can be sent, they can be helped back, but it can go generations, if they're not found. That's why it's really important you remember those that passed on who haven't crossed over, because you need to keep them in mind so they don't get left behind. So I'll make sure that he transcends when he's ready. But now he's got to get, on a spiritual sense, got to make peace with what's happened and allow himself to cross over. But you can't just do that at the click of a fingers. Your soul has to be ready. And like I say, it's just regrettable, because if you think of it in terms of spirit, your soul, rather than just take the pain of life on your shoulders and have these experiences, you forgo it, but you're still existing around it because you didn't cross over. So you're confused and no one's noticing you. It's going to be a hard experience for anyone, I think. Because if you go naturally, you'll just naturally flow and evolve into spirit source, and there's no in between. It's more natural, the way we're supposed to go, But everybody has free will, and some people just can't take life. But like I said, there's so many aspects to life that you can just reset. It's like, don't worry about other people's perceptions. The reality is most people are going through something in life. Very rare anyone's totally put together. Like I've just said with my situation, I'm intelligent and I have experiences that, I evolve into wisdom, and I'm confident in the topics I talk about. I've shared it in so many forms. But there's still vulnerabilities in me. I haven't found the love of my life. I don't have that fairy tale ending. I don't have that partnership. And there's a chance that I may go through my whole life just having to be single. I've been single for 8 years at this point. I'm prepared to do that if I have to. Is it my will? No, of course not. But if I have to, I will. So there's something, I personally think there's something missing in everyone's lives. And if it isn't missing yet, there will be at some point, because life flows in and out like tides. You just got to be prepared to go with the flow. People can make judgments all they want, but again, it's like people have their own battles. They just get too involved in other people's lives a lot of the time, I'm not going to, at a later date, I may include what I've wrote here in one of my books if I think it's helpful to people. But I'm still processing it all myself. It's literally so raw. It's only a couple of days ago. My lack of emotion doesn't mean I'm not caring. I process things separately. I get more emotional, weirdly enough, if you're going to talk about like trauma, loss, I get more emotional for my daughter. So if I feel she loses people who love her, it affects me a lot. Like, it really breaks my heart. I lose people, I'm strong, I can handle loss, And I think when it's people you haven't seen in a long time, it's almost like they weren't part of your daily activities. So it's not a case of not caring. It's just, it doesn't have the same impact. And I'm not allowing myself the image of what their end could have looked like, because I don't need to go there. And that's not ignoring trauma or covering over loss. I think some parts of life you don't need to see the whole picture to everything, And I think that's the thing with people. Some people just obsess about things. I don't really obsess in that direction. I obsess about the lessons, the growth, the evolution. and I allow the fate of time to just flow how it's supposed to. Because I recognize we're always going to lose people. We're going to gain people. We're going to lose people. And because I'm spiritual, I know we'll meet on the other side. Those who I'm supposed to meet again on the other side, I'll meet again. Those I don't meet again, I weren't supposed to. You had a moment in your life, and that can be family too. So you have people in your life, even family, who were part of your journey. It gave us education for good and bad. And their souls go on their own journey, even in life, and then on the other side. We'll interact, we'll bounce off each other, and then you'll do your own thing. Some are supposed to be in your life for long periods, some for short. Doesn't minimize the experience, it's just experience. That's just what I want people to realize, really, is you are the focal point of your life. So don't let anyone control and determine it for you. And don't let circumstances bring you down when circumstances are, for the most part, temporary. You know, the struggles I go through in my own life, for instance, that they can bring me down, they can really feel heavy. And then the next moment, opportunity comes, or something happens here, something happens there. All of a sudden, it's like a completely different timeline. It happens all the time. So we literally have the power to live a different life. So I just think don't give up on life until life gives up on you. You know, it's like literally keep pushing forward. Make yourself proud. Because you can be proud in poverty, you can be proud in hardship. I'm proud of me a lot of what I accomplish. I still get frustrated with myself though, because my life could be a lot easier if I was a different way. But I am who I am, and I have the morals I have, and life's hard. It's like I take accountability of that. I make it hard sometimes. It's like, fine. Fine. But I know why I do what I do. And I don't really alter from that. But like I say, this is quite raw, so I'm only just like found out about it 2 days ago. I'm still processing, really trying to come to terms, trying to understand. This will be an ongoing thing for me for a period of life now, because I'm trying to piece the puzzles together, you know. I don't like not knowing things. I like to figure it out, but in a healthy way. So it's not going to be a place where I just drive myself crazy and it's like that. It's like, but I just want to understand it all a bit more. And I will ask spirit deeper, profound questions. It will push me to ask questions that maybe I weren't thinking about before, especially about our soul and what happens after in various forms. And I'm sure that'll get integrated into the upcoming book because it's new paradigms of thought that I hadn't been expressing or delving into. And yeah, it's just, I think a lot of tragedies could be avoided. There's not much more for me to say without going around in circles, to be totally honest, and unraveling a can of worms that perhaps I'm not ready to unravel yet or not supposed to. But yeah, anyway, hopefully it just gives people, look, time 11:11 now, which is kind of strange as shit. 11:11. That is weird. Like genuinely, because that's just, I'll wrap it up at 11:11. Um, yeah, whether I've done a good job with this, I've got no idea. It wasn't a topic I even wanted to touch.